Welcome, everybody. It's afternoon in Europe and it's the morning in the United States. And I am very pleased that I can invite today my another guest, fantastic Elizabeth Heinen from Philadelphia. But she's not in Philadelphia at the moment. She will tell you where she is. She's really in a fairy tale. And I must say that I'm really happy that we have this time to be together. And of course, I don't need to introduce her. But for those who are not from the harp world and who just would like to know a little bit about Elizabeth, and by the introduction, I will be very pleased now to say a few words from her biography. Elizabeth Heinen has earned an international reputation as one of the classical music great harp ambassadors. The Washington Post said that usually presents with silky transparency, but the New Yorker Times was told that her earthly solidarity, Heinen has thrilled audiences through the world with programs showcasing the diversity and virtuosity of her modern-day instrument. As a solo harpist with the Philadelphia Orchestra for over 20 years, she has presented numerous features performances. She has appeared as a soloist with orchestras in Australia, Bulgaria, Italy, in Chicago, of course, in the United States, in London, in Hong Kong, in Mexico City, in Colombia, in Vancouver, and of course also in Carnegie Hall in New York, many numerous recitals. She is a complete harpist who knows and uses her instrument's strength and brilliance and strikes its fire, says the Miami Herald's James Ross. You miss nothing she wants you to hear. As a contemporary and chamber music performer, Heinen has launched major commissions projects, including works by Pulitzer Prize winners Bernard Randt and Melinda Wagner. She has done a world premiere of Pan Journal with the Julian String Quartet for the Philadelphia Chamber Music Society. During the 2014 to 2015 season, Heinen treated audiences to the premiere of Nusshu. I apologize for my pronunciation. We will talk certainly about this project. The name of the piece, Secret Songs of Women, which was commissioned to her by the Philadelphia Orchestra and was written for her by acclaimed Beijing Olympics composer Dan Dan. The collaboration between composer and artist is a groundbreaking work for the harp community and classical fans. In 2015, Yannick Nezen-Sequin championed Tandang masterpiece with Heinen and the Philadelphia Orchestra through China. Heinen has performed at many festivals, at the World Harp Congresses, and has appeared on concert series by Lionel Healy, Embassy of France in Washington, D.C., in U.S. consulates in Hong Kong, the Cleveland Museum of Art, Shanghai Art Festivals, and Festival in Australia, among others. The guest appearance of Elizabeth Heinen could certainly be counted among the high points of this year, says the Saxon Times of Heinen's appearance at the Saxon Bohemian Music Festival in Germany. Heinen has also recorded many CDs. Her discography continues now with her fifth solo recording, Home, in works by Bach, Debussy, and Glass. A highly sought after harp pedagogue, Heinen serves on the faculties of the world-renowned Curtis Institute of Music in Philadelphia and Boyer School of Music at Temple University, and has been invited to the major international harp competitions in the US, Europe, South America, and Asia as a judge. In 2004, she founded the Saratoga Harp Colony, and this legendary continues in Philadelphia as the Curtis Summerfest Harp Colony. Through her nonprofit foundation, the Lyra Society, Heinen has provided education to the hundreds of school children in urban Philadelphia and the surrounding area. Elizabeth Heinen is born in Toledo, in Ohio. She began the harp at age 10. Her extraordinary progress took her to her mentor and teacher, Susan McDonald, at the Indiana University School of Music, where she was awarded the performance certificate and took degrees in performance. Mrs. HAINEN has been the recipient of numerous awards, including winner of the American String Teachers Association and the Chicago Symphony Civic Orchestra competitions, and she is a silver medalist at the first USA International Harp Competition in 1989. I think that this is only little of the all wonderful life, professional life of our guest today, Elisabeth Heinen. I'm very honored. I will just show one more this biography. It's a very big honor for me to invite our guest today to our interview. Liz, be welcome. I'm sorry it took long, but I would like to speak more about yourself because it's wonderful what everything you have already done, and it's my big pleasure to see you. Welcome to our interview.
Jana, thank you so much for inviting me. I am truly honored. I have been watching many of your broadcasts on Facebook and seeing all the wonderful harp friends across the globe, and I especially enjoyed your recreation of that World Harp Congress, which I wasn't able to go to. So it was great for me to, learn of the history of that event. It felt like I was there. And, this is truly wonderful, and it's also great to spend time with you because I really miss you.
I do too, and I'm so glad that it worked out, that you have time, and that we can be now together. And that's I'm so really thrilled as well to see you. And please, because you showed me before we had started to broadcast for the audience, how fantastic place you are now in. And as I said already, you are in the fairy tale. What is it, and where are you now at the moment?
Well, this is our home in Breckenridge, Colorado, and my husband runs a music festival here called the National Repertory Orchestra. And it just coincided with the fact that I was not playing in the orchestra back in the beginning of March because they were doing Beethoven. Yeah. So I had come out here to visit for a little bit, and then everything happened. And I was very fortunate to be left in this place. As you say, it is kind of a fairy tale. The mountains are still capped with snow, and it's a wonderful place because we're not many population. So I've been able to be outdoors when there was snow on the ground, still skiing, and now biking and hiking.
Even now you're skiing? You can ski even now?
Well, there is a tradition on July 4th that people hike up and ski the July 4th Bowl, 4th of July Bowl. And I don't know if I'm going to do it because it sounds like it's too many people. But I don't think I will do it. But you could do it.
I just wonder if in the mountains you are still also having these restrictions in these days, or you have more freedom there.
Well, we go basically by the governor of Colorado, in the state of Colorado, and they had just lifted restrictions to just about a week and a half ago. And so we're starting to see a lot more tourists come into town. And they've created a pedestrian way on Main Street by closing it to traffic so that they could move tables from the restaurants outside. And I probably will get to make my first public performance since March, and help my husband out with a small group of musicians he's allowed to bring here, and maybe play a little WC dances or something out on the street. I'm becoming a street urchin.
That's fantastic. Would you like to broadcast this live for the HARP channel?
Oh my gosh. Well, we could certainly discuss it. I didn't think about that. Now you're putting the pressure on me.
No. Just only in case you want, because of course it will be wonderful if we can be with you together. It will be lovely.
That could be really fun.
About it. It's an option, and of course you're very welcome, and I will be very pleased to do it for you. So just let me know.
Sure.
Yeah, Liz, because of course, as we already heard, only part of your biography, because your biography is much more longer. It's amazing what you have everything done, and of course it's all these successes and all what the projects you are doing. And I would like to know, because I would like, of course, to show also the pictures which you have sent me, and they are so gorgeous, and you have so many things to talk about. If we can start only from the very beginning, how did you start the harp? When you started when you were 10 years old, was it some inspiration by someone, or it just came like this, like a fairy tale, also magic?
Well, for me, it was my parents are musicians, and I think that if you're not exposed to music through some musical event, it's usually that there's music in the home. And our family, we started playing instruments, both my sister and myself, at the early ages, violin and piano. I think I was 4 or 5 years old. And my mother was a singer and church organist. My father is a violinist and played in a symphony orchestra for over 40 years, and actually still plays in orchestras. So we played together as a family. And the harp was, though, something they didn't know. It's like my dad's like, yeah, it stays over there in the orchestra. I don't know anything about the harp. And I had he had taken me to the Nutcracker because he was playing in the matinee. And he was down in the pit. And so I sat in the first row so he could keep an eye on me. And because I was very young, 9 or 10 years old. And you know how the Nutcracker, it starts with the strings, and then the curtain opens and you're like, oh, the dancers and the tutus and sugar plums and all that. And about 15 minutes in, all of a sudden you hear like this huge harp glissando, arpeggio. And it took my breath away.
I have the goosebumps, really.
And so I was like looking down, like where did that come from? And the whole time I was barely watching the ballet, because anytime I heard the harp, I was looking down in the pit. And so that's where it started from. And I just said, I have to play the harp. I have to play the harp. And they got me a troubadour harp from Lyon and Healy for my birthday. And so that's how it started. And I remember I played the piano. And so I remember immediately figuring it out before I even had a lesson. And I was playing things like Silent Night, because I wanted to practice Christmas carols. So yeah, that's how it started.
That's so wonderful. And so you got the harp before you had a teacher, or?
Exactly.
Really? Wow.
Yes, and of course it was the woman that was playing the harp in the pit that I ended up taking some lessons with eventually, and then, as well as another, she was a piano teacher who had learned the harp while she was at University of Michigan with one of Salzato's pupils, who was Ruth Dean Clark. So I studied with all of Salzato's students in Ohio. Ohio has a big history of Carlo Salzato. So we found a teacher that was of that lineage.
Because I know that you are the Salzato player, and honestly I don't know anybody else from your generation, our generation, who plays this, except actually Alice Giles. Also, she was also the one, but from the United States, even he was the American. It was not very often, right, that at your generation the people were starting the Salzato method.
Well, I think it always was there because it was very much established in the U.S. The two big legacies were Marcel Grangeni and Carlo Salzato, and so you usually were a pupil of one or the other. And as far as my Salzato training, it was because Cleveland Institute of Music, where Alice Shalif, who taught for many years, was very close. And so there were a lot of harpists that had gone through the ranks of Cleveland and Oberlin. So and so now I feel like I've kind of come full circle, because I ended up taking over the post at the Curtis Institute of Music, which is the post that Salzato founded. So it's very much an honor in that regard.
It's
So
amazing. Who else should be there than you? It's really amazing. And
yeah.
I would wonder, of course, we'll come to that. We'll start from the beginning. I don't want to jump over until this day. I would like to show your picture from childhood. How old have you been here?
I think I was 3 years old.
So you were not playing any instrument yet at that time, right?
No, shortly after my dad started me on the violin.
You were not piano, or you were both violin and piano?
Both, yeah.
And your sister was playing also both instruments?
Yes, she ended up playing the viola, and she was a very accomplished pianist. And then, but she went into nursing, and now she's a nurse practitioner, and she runs a hospital floor, and she's a smart cookie.
But now, in these days, it must have been very difficult.
Yes. She's fortunately, she works more with elective surgeries, so she didn't have to work too many situations with the COVID being present. Thankfully.
Thankfully, yeah, my goodness. Here's another picture of yours. This is absolutely gorgeous. But how old have you been here?
I was 14. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I was about 14, and yeah, that was the look back then. I think that's like a Jessica McClintock dress that my mother made for me, and we used to sew all my concert clothes.
But you had already the big harp, or was it the harp of someone else?
No, I had just gotten that harp. That was my first pedal harp. It was a Venus pedal harp. And I remember going to Chicago and picking it out. And it was, a huge, huge gift from my parents.
Yeah. And you were living in Florida at that time, or where have you been?
No, Ohio. I grew up in Toledo, Ohio my whole life. And then it wasn't until my parents retired that they moved to Florida. So
I see. Okay. So when you started to play the harp, you started with the harpist from the orchestra first? And it was just like private lessons, or have you had any of the real studies afterwards, like when you were 14, or how did it continue?
So I think, when you're in the US, it's a little different than in Europe. It wasn't so, and also at that time, it was not so commonplace to travel abroad and go to a festival or a congress, or, we have the American Harp Society, which I remember going to my first conference when I was a senior in high school. So I was already quite old. And I think I must say that the teacher that really, really, I think, ignited my passion for the harp was Nancy Lendrum, who was just young in the orchestra, was doing her master's and finishing her master's at Cleveland. And so I was in just junior high, and to have this beautiful, in my opinion, she was just the epitome of the professional harpist. And I think that really helped, inspire me to want to follow in her footsteps. And I think it was a good age because, when you're in junior high, you're lacking confidence, you're trying to find your way, you're a little awkward. And I was really inspired by her. And to this day, she's one of my dearest friends. And so that was a really more of like almost like an older sister relationship. So it wasn't quite like having, the senior teacher, the older harpist, but to have this young, vibrant woman teaching me the harp was, I think, really, that really, really helped me find my path.
That's wonderful. That's absolutely wonderful. And when you started to play, I'm sorry to still going through this circle, but it interests me when you started to play the harp and you had only the troubadour harp. And you started the salsero method. For those who don't know from not the harpist, it is totally different method that usual now the European people are starting to play the harp. You have to sit much higher when you play the salsero method. How did it happen when you were having the troubadour harp, which is small? Did you stand up, or how did they taught you?
No, it was, the idea of the troubadour harp was that it was strung with a concert strung tension, and you of course had to do the levers, and it had no pedals.
Yes.
But no, we started very, very much. It was a lot about position and the way you approach the instrument, and right from the start, and how I closed my fingers. It was very much the same. I mean, when you get to the pedal harp, it's you feel like, oh my gosh, it's like alien. And I think it's really much better now. They have these wonderful small pedal harps that you can start from. And I remember my parents saying, stop practicing the piano, because I would say, well, it's easier. It's all right here in front of me. And I have to sit down and use the pedals. And so there was always kind of a little bit of a give and take, you know, going between piano and harp. And of course, you know, I got the hang of it. But, you know, I think with, as far as the Salzedo method, he embraced, they embraced the troubadour harp, because it was really the first time younger people could sit down and play without trying to put the apparatus on the pedals. You know, there were the pedal extensions.
Right.
It's crazy. I don't know how we did that.
So I thought that this has been only in Russia when they have this extension for the pedals, because I have not seen it anywhere else before that. Yeah. So it's and so you had this harp which we have shown on the picture for those who came a little bit later, when you were 14 years old, and you got the harp. It was your first big harp before you played only the troubadour, or you had a chance already to play the big harp before you got the.
I had to take my lessons on the big harp. So when I would go, because my teacher wanted me to kind of get used to the pedals. So I thought that was very good. And I would recommend that for any teacher, you know, try to get the student to, at least for part of the lesson, you know, maybe you bring the small harp with you, but just to kind of start managing it. I think it does help.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, because it's so different. And if I might ask you, because of course, as I said, we might not have only the audience from the harp world, but even maybe the harpists would be interested, the young generation. What is the difference between the Salzer method and between the Grand Jani actually method? Because it's they are maybe the best to compare these two people.
I have to say, you know, these legacies of these people, these great harpists, it comes down to the imagination and what they created. I feel that Carlos Salzedo, he was a Renaissance man in every shape and way, and he took any kind of aesthetic, and he was just so enamored with it, whether it was dance and his great relationship with Nijinsky, or if it was like the arts and craft movement, the Art Deco movement, and to completely recreate, you know, all the furniture in his home.
And the harp also.
And the harp, and be influenced to help create this new model. He was an impresario. He was one of those types that be like in the ticket office, selling tickets for his own concert, and then, you know, running around backstage, you know, he was a really unique person. So when he created his own technique, because he was from France and he studied with Hasselmans, and he developed his technique to be much more projected in full tone. And that's why there's such a rich tradition in United States orchestras, that many of them studied with either Salzedo or with a pupil, a former pupil of Salzedo's for many years. And I think that when you see a Salzedo player, I think there's probably a lot more structure to the way they're visually playing. But I do believe that a lot of it is all similar, as you know. I mean, I think there's a lot of crossover from all of our playing, and basically you keep your thumbs high and you close your fingers. But I do cherish my heritage, and I was I studied with Alice Shalafu, and then eventually with Mary Bartlett, whose daughter, Jackie Bartlett, teaches at the North Carolina School of the Arts. And it was Mary Bartlett who suggested I go take a lesson from Suzanne McDonald. So that was a big deal, because that was not kind of the normal path. I was supposed to go probably to Cleveland, but I didn't.
So this changed your life completely.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, this because I remember you, as we have been, I was so lucky also that we were together during that 1 year when I was studying at DIO as well with Miss McDonald. So I remember how really, as you said, the projective sound of yours is there, and it's really different position in the way of arms, not of the hands by itself, but by the hands, by the arms. And I just wanted to ask, and I've never asked you, because of course we were talking normally, not like for the harp work, but it would interest me. Do you have ever any pain in your hands, because you have to keep your hands up, as the Salcedo method is the meant to be? It is so different. So how did you work for not having the pain for your arms?
Well, I think it was a lot about the posture. And when you think about it, without him going into great detail of how he guided his method, I do think that it's very current now, because we realize as harpists, we play one of the least comfortable instruments. And in order to keep yourself healthy and not get to pain, the tendonitis and things, you have to be incredibly aware of your body. And I think that method does make you very aware of your body right from the get-go. And you should feel like you're centered on your feet from the ground up. You're tall on your sits bones, and you should feel like you're in an athletic stance as an instrument. And I do think that is how I still teach. And I think it's really important. I probably don't have my arms up as high as I once did. I think Miss McDonald she sort of subtly just kind of made me relax a little bit in that regard. And so I think that it's all about how you're built skeletally than muscularly. So without getting too much into anatomy and all that sort of thing.
It's nice to hear, and I think that it's quite perfectly already explained, so that the people who only globally knows that the difference is between the keeping the arms different position than maybe usually they see the harpist. But I posted already your video yesterday, and of course I will post also some videos later. You can see that it doesn't change anything. It's beautiful, and your playing is absolutely gorgeous. So it's super wonderful. Just for me, it is a miracle and really big admiration that you can play with the different lengths. The height of the arms. It's absolutely fantastic, really.
Well, thank you. That's a big honor, big compliment coming from you.
No, really, honestly, I really admire that. I have here also that I have to put the glasses in my eyes. We have from Mariko. She's with us also. So hello, Mariko. It's
Mariko.
It's lovely to see you. And we have also another Tatiana Kulovic, and also from Ala Mishenko, Ukraine. And I already mentioned here some
Gloria Galante. Oh my gosh. Nice to hear from her.
And also from our Veronica, who is with us all the time. And here's also some love from
Helen.
It's so lovely. So it's great that we are again having a great audience, and I'm so glad that you can be with us. And I'm sure that we will have a great, at least 1 hour, even maybe more. And before we will have a chance to invite also our winner of the quiz today.
Yeah.
Today, but it has been a winner of the former quiz. who has chosen our guest today, I would still go through maybe 3 or 5 pictures so that we can a little bit get into that. I would like to show your husband and your wonderful dog, because I think that, and this is a place where you are now. Is it from?
This is the view from my house.
How gorgeous!
Yeah,
it's absolutely amazing, and your dog is just really so cute. I remember him when I was at your place, and he's just like the cutest dog. I mean, also is my dog, but he's really so wonderful. How old is he now?
Cosmo is going to be 18 this Friday.
I know you told me, and I just wanted that you say it again for the audience, but it's really amazing. He looks all the time the same, and it's just fantastic. And you are such a great couple. I really admire. And your husband is a musician as well. And tell me a little bit about him.
Yes, my husband, I met him, actually. He was on tour in the Philadelphia Orchestra playing percussion. So he was on my very first European tour. Mm-hmm. And he was playing extra percussion, and I noticed in the manifest that there was another DePeters, David DePeters, and there was a Joseph DePeters, and he brought his father on the tour. And that really captured my heart, because I was like, oh, he's bringing his dad. That's such a nice guy. And so, so we had a very romantic courtship on that European tour, and he played percussion, extra percussion, not only in Philadelphia, but he was the first call percussionist with the New York Philharmonic for 12 years. So he was doing a lot of commuting, and then he kind of caught back up with one of his best friends, Michael Stern, the conductor, who had started this wonderful orchestra, the Iris Orchestra, down in Memphis, Tennessee. And he asked David to come down and help manage this orchestra. So he quickly, realized he had these creative management skills, administrative skills. And eventually he's now stopped performing, and he is now the CEO and executive director for the National Repertory Orchestra Festival here in Breckenridge, Colorado.
That's fantastic. It's a great support, absolutely a great support. I remember always when I see you both together, you're like an example and exactly the couple who everybody should be. So it's really beautiful.
Well, we're really lucky, and he likes my cooking, which was good these last 3 months.
Of course, you can be now together much more than the usual, right? Yes. And you are really passionate teacher also. I have here one very special, wonderful picture when you were giving master classes, or is it probably, I don't know, is it in Indiana or is it at your school?
This is at the Curtis Institute of Music, and it was our first summer doing the harp colony there after 13 summers in Saratoga Springs. So this was our first time at Curtis. And that student there is Subin Lee from Seoul, Korea, and she now attends Curtis.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And I will just show one more picture, because then I will, of course, invite our guest inside. And which picture I should take now, because I don't want to quit from one to another one. But still, I will go from the, wait a minute. Here I will show this one, because I want to show studies. You did not have this picture that I found by myself.
Oh my gosh, because I was going to say that one, I did not have this photo. Yes. And I was looking, I knew I had some photos with you, and I chose another one, but this one, this is at one of the infamous harp parties at Miss McDonald's house.
It was our birthday party. Indeed. It was the September or October, I don't know when it was exactly, but it was during that time when all 4 of us had the...
Yes, that's right. We all have like September or early October birthdays.
Indeed. So it has been a photo of the Indiana University's part of the students, and it was really wonderful. It was so lovely. And of course, when you mentioned Miss McDonald, I would like to show, this is when you got the silver medal at the USA International Harp Competition.
Yes, it was very emotional. As you can see, I was like crying, and it was very exciting and wonderful. And look how beautiful Linda and Suzanne are.
All three of you. It's absolutely gorgeous picture. It's just like fantastic, and really great memory also on that.
Very special memory.
It's fantastic. And there is another, because this is probably before you were doing the competition, or when was this one?
This is ironic that you show this photo. If you look on the wall, this is the National Repertory Orchestra. This is exactly, that was Carl Topolo, the conductor. This is the very organization my husband now runs.
Wow, that's amazing, isn't it?
In this, I was playing the Rodrigo Concierto Serenata, and this was in 1992, and I won my first orchestra position at the Kennedy Center literally like 2 months later.
Unbelievable. What an amazing that the history is just like a circle, right?
It is completely. It's really something. I mean, it's very special that I did that festival and that now my husband runs it. So it's really definitely.
It's amazing. I would say when you mentioned the Rodrigo Concerto Serena, I remember it very well when you played it. You played it so fantastic. It was the first time I heard it, and it was in your performance. And I really, I mean, you played it so fantastic.
Thank you. I wish it was played more. I think it's such an incredible piece. And I know there have been issues with the editions, and, there just were a lot of mistakes in that original score. And then anyway, we don't need to go back into all of
No, but it's really nice to say that, because it's true. It's unfortunately sometimes you can find in the Rodrigo's pieces for the harp, they have really many of the mistakes, which are really pity. Of course, in the Aranjuez we can find it comparing with the guitar, but with the Serenata we can't, because it's original and
the Sonos and Hiralda. I played it in the Cartagena Music Festival, and that's a lovely little piece. That's like a 10-minute concertino. I don't know if you know that one.
I know that. I think that Moretti has recorded the whole piece of Rodrigo, and I think that there is also this piece.
It's very charming. Very charming.
Indeed, it's very charming. And before I will get in our guest, I have also here another comment from, from Veronica about.
Nice. Thank you.
And he also agreed. Thank you. Lovely. So let's give a chance to our winner of the quiz, daily quiz. And today we have Elisa Netter, who I welcome to be with us.
Hey, Elisa, congratulations.
Thank you for this opportunity.
We are very happy that you are with us, and I will of course now leave you both, and you can of course ask 2 questions to our guests, and I'm very pleased and listen to your interesting questions to
hopefully interesting questions.
Certainly.
So it's an honor to meet you this way. I was very lucky to win the contest yesterday, because I'm a great fan. So I'm really happy to follow the conversation. And
well, I'm thrilled to meet you and to, I mean, this is isn't this an amazing platform Jana has created?
It absolutely is. It definitely is. So I actually have 2 questions I've prepared. And the first one is that I really like your projects that you do, the CDs that you recorded. One can really feel that there is a journey behind every CD. I really like Les Amis, but I also like the concertos that you recorded, especially the G minor concerto by Paris Chalvars. And I was wondering, how do you decide what you like to work on, and how do you go and discover this repertoire that sometimes is not already recorded or that is not very often played?
Well, Elisa, that's a very good question. And I think, repertoire, I mean, our rich harp repertoire, I felt I was like a kid in the candy shop when I went to Indiana University and I started discovering all of this music. And one of the things I can visualize is on the Les Classiques by Henriette Renier. There'd be like a list of pieces on the back, right? Or you would get like an old piece of music and you would see what was published. And I remember like going through and going, what is that? I've never heard of that. You know, like there'd be like this Parish Alvar's piece, you know, Grand Fantasy on Lucia de Lammermoor, and it was nowhere to be found, you know. And fortunately for people like Suzanne McDonald and through the World Harp Congress, all these pieces have come to life. And so I think it was sort of the exploration of what was out there. And at the same time, you know, being in an environment with great musicians, you know, I think your peers in college are the biggest influence on you next to your teacher. And I had really wonderful friends, pianist friends. My boyfriend at the time was a wonderful, wonderful pianist. And our very good friend Joshua Bell and I were classmates. And so you would hear their music and you would say, well, what's in our music of that same era? And I think it was this recording of especially Marielle Nordman of the G minor that really inspired me to want to learn the piece. And she was very, very generous in providing me with the manuscript that Bernard Gallet wrote, that was the little cadenza for the third movement. And I just thought that was an amazing, just a very, very wonderful opportunity that she gave to me as a young harpist who had never worked with her. And so I was able to put this piece together in that way. And I went back to the original score. And I think that's maybe what you're asking is, like, there is a lot of research that goes on behind these pieces maybe that are not so often heard. And we couldn't find a score. So for the conductor, right? So where's the score? It's in the Fleischer collection, which is in Philadelphia. A pen and ink score, literally.
Wow.
I couldn't believe it. I mean, it's really one of the greatest resources in the world for classical music, the Fleischer collection at the Free Library of Philadelphia. So we had our librarians make the score, and to this day, you know, I love looking at it because it's a manuscript score, and I think that means a lot when you start connecting the years and the decades of this great music to what we're currently doing. So
wow. Yes, wow, that's really interesting. And this, because since I liked it, I was looking for the score and I couldn't find it, so that's why. Now we know where it is. But I also wanted to ask, maybe it's a difficult question, I don't know if it's too broad, but is there something that you would give as an advice to not young students, but young professionals? As for example, I don't know, you have very gifted students. I've met some of them, and as they leave the school, as they graduate, is there something that you like to give as an advice in particular for people starting their career or venturing and trying to find out their road in the musical world?
You know, you're hitting on something that was a really difficult time period for me personally. That day I left Indiana University and I didn't have a job right out of school. You know, you're like, well, the next day I'm supposed to be starting my career. And I think that that's a difficult thing for schools to really prepare you for, no matter how current they are with their offerings. And I do think the teacher can really help just inspire you. You know, it's the inspiration your teacher gives you. I think your teacher can't give you a job, but they can give you, this is your strength, right? This is what you're good at. You know, that piece you commissioned by that composer, you know, this is the thing that I think I would like to tell my students, and I tell those that recently graduated and are trying to find their way, you have to do a little research about what's around you, where you want to be, and find out what's missing. And is it that we're in need of teachers? Are we in need of teachers in the schools for young people? Are we in need of, let's say, doing something more innovative with a group in chamber music, or even using the harp in crossover music? But you have to find sort of a niche, and you have to be good at it. So it's one thing to say, oh, hey, I want to do that, and I want to be a jazz improvisation harpist, when you have no idea how to do it, and you just left, how many 6 years of training and playing the Hindemith Harp Sonata. So I think you definitely have to be honest about your strengths and weaknesses, and then you have to see what's out there for you. And I really firmly believe we have one of the greatest instruments to do things with, especially even in this time. It's a plucked instrument. We don't have to worry about, our breath going through a reed or singing. I mean, we really do have a wonderful instrument even right now, that we're self-accompanying, we're independent, and we have a wonderful repertoire to stand on. And so I think we're going to find ourselves in some unique situations as we come through this time, that, people will say, what about the harp? And you'll be there ready to take that opportunity. So I think that there's a lot of wonderful things about being a harpist right now.
That's great advice. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
I totally agree. I think that we have the most wonderful instrument ever, and it can be used anywhere, anytime, and it will always please the people.
That's right.
So thank you so much.
Thank you, Elisa. Nice to meet you.
I'll follow the conversation.
Thank you to be with us, and continue to answer the quiz. You are welcome to come back again. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you. I will.
Have a nice day. Bye-bye, dear.
Bye.
So great. That's wonderful that we had also the guest today. Liz, I just downloaded the rest of the pictures because, as I said at the beginning, I could not download all of them because we have so many wonderful things. But before I will go through them, I would like to know, because you started after, as you were now saying, that you finished your studies and then you didn't know what will be your future, what you will do. And as I know, you were not only fantastic soloist, but you were also fantastic in the orchestra. You had many options to choose from. But you also, not only that you became to be principal harpist of the Philadelphia Orchestra, one of the main orchestra in the country, in the United States, but also you started to teach at first, I don't know where you were teaching. So if you can say your ways, how did you get until the Curtis of Institute of Music in Philadelphia?
Well, do you want the PG rated version, or
No, you can read. Yeah, I want just the absolutely normal human being version, how really everything went through. What did happen when you finished Indiana? Where did you go to?
Well, I just want to preface before, just to say, if you'll recall, we took an orchestra audition together one time. And so we're very similar in that regard, I think, because we're both orchestral players and soloists. I mean, to me, you're really the soloist. And I've always epitomized you as, like the soloist that people strive to be. So I think it's hard to do both. And, but definitely one helps the other, for sure. And I think when I left Indiana, I think I always wanted to play in an orchestra. I always wanted to be playing with other people. I didn't want to be isolated. I grew up in Ohio, in Northern Ohio, and I had to go to a harp conference, to go hear other harpists, so it was that sense of, I want to collaborate with other musicians. And I think it was also the need to be successful. You know, I think, you know, you have that, you know, DNA in you as a person that I want success in my life. So if it's not going to be at the harp and I'm not going to win an audition, well, then maybe I'll be a lawyer. I really did consider this. I have my I was going to prepare for the LSATs, and because I didn't win an audition basically the day after I graduated, you know, there's something in your mind. You're like, okay, well, what now? You know, and that's what I was kind of describing to Elisa, that you do have to be very committed and really follow your dreams, and be realistic about those dreams. So I really had never done a music festival, and because I was always working and doing gigs and trying to help with my college tuition. So when I did that National Repertory Orchestra, that was my first festival, my first and only. And I learned so much because it took us through the rigors of being in an orchestra and being prepared, you know, with repertoire every few days. And I really firmly believe that experience helped me win my job at the Kennedy Center. And the Kennedy Center job was an amazing opportunity because it wasn't just, it wasn't even orchestra. I was playing the opera and the ballet and Broadway shows. So it was a really wide spectrum of what the repertoire could be like. And again, it was like that was the right place for me because it helped me very quickly digest a lot of music. And this helped me then go on to have very successful orchestra auditions, which led me to Philadelphia. And I've been there since 1994, which is hard to believe. And I mean, it's just been, it really has been a dream job in the regard of the musicians I work with on a daily basis, our conductors, you know, starting with somebody like Wolfgang Sawallisch, who I think you know, he was an amazing mentor and like grandfather figure in a way. And then now our current music director, Yannick Nazé-Sagan, who is
some of the pictures.
This is actually with my colleagues just about 3 years ago. We were part of what was called the All-Star Orchestra. It's a group that Gerard Schwartz, conductor, puts together, and it's kind of like a mini festival, and we record things for TV, for broadcast. And so it's usually like major repertoire, like Scheherazade and Young Person's Guide and things like that. And that was a really fun project.
Beautiful.
And this is Caroline Kennedy. So this, again, because of the amazing Philadelphia Orchestra and their global, you know, musical ambassadorship. When we travel, we often do things outside the concert hall, and this was at the U.S. Embassy in Tokyo, Japan. And so we had a wonderful event there, and just inside her left shoulder, that's our concert master, David Kim. So we performed together, and I also played a solo in this beautiful embassy. And this was just maybe 2 or 3 years ago. This was very recent.
Wow.
So one of the wonderful, you know, memories abroad I've had with the orchestra.
Because he is also, you have only one harpist, you are alone, or do you have 2 harpists?
So we have always been one of the last orchestras that had 2 full-time harpists until very recently. My wonderful friend and dear colleague, Margarita Montanaro, retired. And the position is technically, it's not been done away with, but it has not been filled, obviously. So we have, we've had like national auditions for substitute harpists. And this beautiful girl you see here with me in the music Verein is Cheryl Losey, who recently won, she was with the Buffalo Philharmonic. And she's a wonderful harpist, and I'm sure we're going to hear a lot of her in the future. And so that was, you've played in the music Verein, and what a wonderful wonderful experience it is to always play there.
Absolutely. And I can see that you have 2 Salcedo harps.
Yes.
Taking them with you.
Yes, when I joined the Philly Orchestra, I really wanted to keep the tradition of the Salcedo harp in the orchestra. Because I remember seeing the old photographs with Stokowski and his Art Deco stage. You know, you've seen this in Fantasia, the movie Fantasia. And the Salcedo harp was usually front and center. In fact, he used to put them out in the front of the stage in front of the cellos. And I don't know how they played with the orchestra out there. So, yeah, so the blonde, the natural colored harp you see on the right was the first harp I chose for the orchestra. This really gorgeous ebony and silver Salcedo was recently a gift from dear friends, David and Sandy Marshall of the Philadelphia Orchestra, who gifted us this harp.
Amazing, but it's so special brand. It has not. I have never seen this. Yeah, how to say? You know, the wood like in this particular combination with the silver. I have never seen that.
We designed it. So it's an ebony and palladian leaf, which is another precious metal, and they used all nickel plate instead of the brass work. It's all nickel plate, so it's very striking. It looks like it's like the Great Gatsby harp. I actually call it Stokey, in fond memory of Leopold Stokowski. We call the harp Stokey.
It's gorgeous. It's absolutely really unique. Here is also the picture you were playing. This is the when you were showing the picture before. This is the where you were playing with the violinist.
Yes, Caroline Kennedy at the U.S. Embassy in Tokyo, Japan. Yes.
And here's also
this is David and Sandy Marshall. They're the ones that gifted us Stokey, the harp.
Oh, really? It's her. Okay.
Yes. I brought them backstage because they had never met Yo-Yo Ma, and I was like, "You've never gotten to meet him. All these years you've supported the orchestra and been here." So they were thrilled to meet him.
Oh, that's wonderful. And I have seen that Yo-Yo Ma is actually really a big fan of even your Lira company.
That is backstage in Saratoga, where we founded the Saratoga Harp Colony. And so I had T-shirts for both Yo-Yo Ma and Stefan Denev, who has been our principal guest conductor for several seasons. And another, I love him. He's wonderful. Yeah, he's just a wonderful person.
Absolutely. I really love him as well. He's really wonderful. And what here also, when we have the T-shirts, I will just show one more T-shirt.
That is Bramwell Tovey. He recently he was music director in Vancouver, and now he's I believe music director of the BBC. And he is an amazing pianist and composer, and he's one of these people, he'll just get up and improvise, and he is hysterical. Like he does the most witty things. And so he's a big friend of the orchestra. He usually does our Christmas concerts every year. So
tell us a little bit about this society which you are doing, the T-shirt belonged to.
Well, the Harp Colony in Saratoga was a branch of the Lyra Society, which I founded 15 years ago. And yeah, it was one thing to say, oh, I'm going to start a summer harp program. Oh, and by the way, I think I'll start a nonprofit organization to teach harp in the schools. I really didn't know what I was getting myself into at the time. It was a big, ambitious dream. And fortunately, it's become the greatest work I do as a teacher and as a harpist. And the summer program part is something that, again, I always dreamt of going, but I never was able to, because like I said, I was working and trying to make money so I could eventually get a job. And so I thought I would at least like to run one now that I'm not young enough to go to one. So I started the harp colony in the tradition of Camden, where Salzedo had his harp colony for many years. And it was just after Miss Chalafu had stopped the harp colony. She had taken a fall, broken her hip, and she had to stop teaching. And I was supposed to go. Even as an adult. I was going up to spend some time with her. And we had the trip planned, and her daughter called me and said, "I'm so sorry, but we're going to have to, take her back home, and she needs to rest." And so it really just destroyed me that I didn't get to go and see the hallowed halls of his home there and the setting in Camden. And now it's no more. It's not continued because the property was sold, and there was nobody to take over. And so that's why I thought I really should start something, in upstate New York, which is also, on that side of the country, that we could do something here. And the fact that I was there with the orchestra every summer during that same time period, I thought, well, this would be great for young harpists. They can come hear the orchestra, and we can have these master classes and concerts. And it really was a wonderful time period. And this photo is now the next generation, which I have just been so pleased with how it's turned out. And so this was the final concert from last summer's harp colony at Curtis Summerfest. And you see Judy Lohman there next to me. And
she's also the Salcedo player, right? She
went to Curtis. She was in Salcedo's harp studio. And and she is the one who brought me to Curtis to start teaching. She had taken over after Marilyn Costello passed away. So Judy Lohman was the head of the harp department. And she was very, very embracing of me. I remember after a harp conference in Philadelphia, I played the opening recital, and she said, "You need to come and at least do like some orchestra seminars for the students. It's ridiculous. You're right here in town." And so she really took me under her wing and embraced me, because there was a lot of, there was some, shrapnel left over from the fact that I went and studied with Suzanne McDonald, and then now I'm here in Philadelphia. And it wasn't just like they were going to just open the doors to the Curtis Institute for me. And it was Judy Lohman who, she really believed in me, and she's been a very big mentor to me. Even though I never studied with her like Suzanne McDonald, I still feel like she's played a major role in helping me become, especially the teacher who I am. So,
but honestly, if I may say, I don't know anybody who else could be there than you. It is really you are from the United States. You are the continuation of that kind of school, and you have been always the ambassador of this American school. Honestly, I would never even guess that there will be anybody else. So it's your place, and it belongs to you totally. So
thank you, Jana. That means a lot.
Truly, it's really like that. This is also from Colony, right?
Yes, this is from the harp colony when we were back in Saratoga. And that is Nancy Lendrum, who I mentioned before, in the pink sweater. She's principal harpist of the Toledo Symphony. She was my teacher, and she's the one who eventually took me to Alice Chalafu. And then Abigail Kent is out in front, and Abby went to the Curtis Institute of Music. She's here as our concerto winner. And she has since been the AHS concert artist for the American Harp Society. And she's had a big success. And then behind her is my best friend from the orchestra, Anna Marie Peterson, viola player, who was helping to adjudicate. And then that darling looks like a student next to her is Maria Luisa Rayan. And she has been on my faculty at the Saratoga Harp Colony. She was actually co-director with me for several years. And she's now joined me at Boyer School of Music. So she's actually coming and teaching throughout the semesters alongside me there as well.
Fantastic. I'm so glad and so happy for her also, that, and for you both, that you can be together. That's really lovely. And here is also another from that.
So these are alumni of Saratoga Harp Colony. We have Charles Overton, who is just a fabulous, diverse classical and jazz player. He can do both. And this is, oh my goodness, my mind is going to slip me now. This young man, he went to Europe to study, and I cannot remember his name. He studied with Jackie Bartlett. And I'll think of it in a second. And then that's Helen Gerhold. This was a line in Healy Awards. We have Rachel Lee Hall, who has gone on to be an astral artist. And then we have Natalie Hoffman, who did her master's at Indiana. And then we have Catherine Ciocci, who was the gold medalist from 2 competitions ago for the USA Harp competition.
Indeed.
Yeah. So it's really a wonderful lineup there of our past Harp Colony people. So Ian, that's Ian. Oh my gosh, I was like, oh gosh, I couldn't remember his name.
No problem. I have the problem very often, and I really, you do everything so perfectly. I would not remember anybody.
Oh gosh,
it's so difficult. But you're amazing. So you started to do the colony before you were appointed professor of Philadelphia, in Philadelphia, in Curtis.
Yes, and I think it was a really good way for me to start teaching, because I don't know how you feel. I know for me it was a lot, just getting my feet on solid footing to be at the Philadelphia Orchestra. And I don't think it's always a good idea to have too many distractions when you have so much repertoire to learn, and you really need to focus on yourself. And I feel the moment you start teaching, it opens up the possibilities of questioning yourself. And, especially like if you're working on repertoire and maybe you're going to be playing it, you have to be very, very confident in how you as a performer are facing these pieces before you start doing this on a, daily basis with students. And I think as if I were strictly a soloist, I think maybe it would be a lot different. But I think when you're dealing with orchestras, you're dealing with a lot of things. There's always politics. There's always, there's always other things that come with it. That, again, teaching, you really need to be fully focused on that individual. And if you're too into your self-absorbed, which I was in the beginning of my career. I really was, and I needed to be. And now I have my experience to help give me the room and the capacity to give my undivided attention to these students. So I think starting teaching by doing these harp colonies, which were just in the summer for 3 weeks, it was a big chunk of time. And maybe I had a couple adult students. I think that really helped me too, because they are not as demanding as a young person. So I am really glad I waited to do the bulk of what I do.
It was great timing, honestly. It was great timing. Everything was really like going the way how it should have. Yeah. And here is also one more picture, I think, that from your harp colony.
Yes, that's just an example of when the housing was really quite nice, where the harpists would stay, but we just didn't have, you know how it is with the harp. It's like taking care of an elderly person, and you have to have pathways that are all close by in order to have harp ensemble and get together. So we would see, okay, how many harps can we fit in here today? And it always worked out. And thanks to people like Marianne Meyer, she was always like really helpful about orchestrating all of that.
They all bring their own instruments, or you have some company who, I mean, Lionel Healy or some other who bring the harps?
Well, when we were in Saratoga, it was Carl Swanson would come down, and he had about 3 harps. He would rent to us. And then now, this is another great reason to have it at Curtis. We have several really great instruments. So I would say half the people that come don't need to bring their harps. People who are within driving distance usually bring their instruments.
That's fantastic. So you moved from Saratoga to Philadelphia now?
Yes. So it used to be held at Skidmore College, right there in Saratoga Springs, and I would do this simultaneously while I was in residence with the Philadelphia Orchestra. And it was.
You remember this?
Yes, and there you are.
I found this picture as well, also with Joshua Bell there. I remember it was so beautiful time. Honestly, I really miss it, and it looks like a cliche, but I really miss it because it was so. I remember when I was staying with you in your house. Even now when I was going to have a broadcast with you, so like I know that how I told you also. I feel so happy here with you. Like really, you are so. It was so warm. It was so family feeling there. It was so lovely with all these people. It was gorgeous time.
It was so much fun. And you were so for 4 years, Suzanne McDonald was our first guest artist. And we had her there for several days where she did some master classes. And then I think you were the next one. And I thought, let's bring Jana here. And I said, this way she can perform as well. And it was so wonderful because the Chamber Music Society there invited us to perform. So we had such a great time because we played the Mother Goose Suite by Ravel. And then you introduced this really extraordinary piece, the Brillante. What is this name of this duet?
It was the Godefroy, no? It was
Godefroy, like Fantasy Brillante or something for 2 harps. Oh my gosh, what a piece. That was so much fun. And then in that picture, so I originally started the Harp Colony along with Nancy Lendrum and with Kimberly Rowe, the Harp Colony. So it was the 3 of us, and we were backstage there, and that was after a concert. Yeah, Joshua Bell had played.
No,
it was so much fun just having. It was a very festive time and festive experience there. That's the only thing I really miss about not having it in Saratoga anymore.
I can imagine.
It was a very special place. But for the students and for the safety of the harps and everything, Curtis couldn't be a more suited situation at this point.
Yeah.
So everything evolves.
Everything has the reason, right? Everything has the reason. And when you mentioned the concert, do you remember that at our duo concert, there was Maestro Dufour? No, he was,
he was there. And that was the first and only time I think they've ever had a harp duo play, and it makes me realize it should happen again.
I have never played this Godefroy anymore, but recently I found the piece because I know that there was so many mistakes also because it was the original, not printed. It was like
a manuscript. Yeah.
Exactly, it was a manuscript, and I remember like today, really. Oh my God, it's 8 years maybe ago, or even more. I don't know.
I think it might be.
Unbelievable! It's like yesterday. Anyway, we are. No, it's not saying how long it is, but it's really amazing. Like it's like yesterday, and then you started to do also the Lyra Society. What is that? The difference between
Yeah, so this is, like I said, I was absolutely mad. I was like, what was I thinking? Trying to start this nonprofit at the same time I started the Harp Colony. So I was inspired not only by, Miss Shalafu and Carlos Salcedo with the Harp Colony in Camden, Maine. I was also inspired by the rich harp heritage in Philadelphia. And it was around that same time I discovered that several of our schools had Lyon and Healy pedal harps. And they were just sitting there. And I started researching this, and I discovered that not one, but 3 principal harpists graduated from Philadelphia High School for Girls. And one being Ann Hobson Pilot, who played with the Boston Symphony. She was the first African-American principal player, period, in any major orchestra. And she went to this school, and I thought, this is just too much of a coincidence. Like, I have to do something. Like, that's when you find a calling, you find you're being pulled and you're going, no, I don't want to. And you're thinking, who else is going to do this? To have harps in the schools. And I remember as a kid saying to my dad and my mom, who taught in public schools, why are there no harps? I want to play in your school orchestra, Dad. Can't I? No, well, there's no harp here. And I remember that being upsetting to me. And like, why can't children choose the harp at school rather than just these instruments? So I fortunately had some patron support, and we started this organization called the Lyra Society, LYRA, and the inspiration was there from these harpists that went. Paula Page with the Houston Symphony.
I hope it's a correct picture or not.
No, this is actually from Curtis. Well, I'll tell you about that in a moment.
Okay, so sorry, because I don't know now which picture belongs to the Lyra.
I'll tell you, we produced a video just in May.
This one.
No, not that one. No, I don't think I gave it to you. I think it's something that I would have to send you. But we produced a video that has Paula Page and Hobson Pilot in it, and it shows the lineage, shows like what we're doing now in the schools teaching. And what I wanted, I didn't want harpists all to look like me. Or you, right? Like we look like we're harpists, right? We're blonde and, we play the harp. Well, I just always thought, why can't anybody play the harp? And why should it be an exclusive instrument? People with families that can afford it, or, it just doesn't seem fair. So I think now when you see these young people, and it gives them such pride. And so the video we created is called I Am a Harpist, because I feel like when you say that to somebody, they're always like, really? You play the harp? It's like a royal title or something that you've been granted. And I thought, this is empowering for a young student, no matter what their background, and to be able to say, I play the harp. And I think this is the greatest work I do now. I get the most gratification out of it. And so now we've seen some of our students go on to be given full scholarships in academia and music, both. Some of them might go into music, some of them might not. Two of my current students, these students are from Play on Philly. And so this was a fundraiser we did at Curtis.
Oh, sorry. It's still the credits. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to find so that it will be connected with what they are saying, but I can't really now notice which one is.
There is one where I'm with the four little African-American harpists. They're beautiful girls. They were in that same photo. And that's how I got to know them. And they were in another program that we partnered with to give harps. And
this one?
This one. I had so much fun that day with these kids, and they are now much older in college at this point, I believe. And so we partnered with Play on Philly, which is an El Sistema program. So all of the children in this school learned to play an instrument, and they had a harp program within the ranks of that program. So we've partnered with them over the years. So we basically, you know, they come to Curtis occasionally. We do workshops. So
that's wonderful. And do they play still the harp? Do they still play the harp?
I think most of them do, actually. I think it's to some degree. And this is the thing. I always tell people, I'm like, you'll always be a harpist. You know, one of our harp colony alumna is also in this video. I'm going to probably send it to you right now, in fact, because now I'm upset that I didn't send it to you. It is online, but I think, well, here.
You can do so. You can still send it to me.
I can send it to you? Okay.
I can try to download it during the interview. So
okay. So yeah, because I think it'd be nice for you to see it. And I can share it. I guess I can share it on Facebook. Is that what I should do?
No, just send it to my mail if it's possible.
Oh, okay. I will send it to your mail.
I can then download it and upload it to the program.
And let me just say that this is not the only harp program like this in the United States. I know that they're doing all kinds of amazing things in Dallas, Texas. When I did a Line and Healy Harptacular there, I could not believe how many harps are in the schools. Atlanta, where Angela Hairston has a urban youth harp ensemble. It's just amazing what's going on now. And I think that that's the new generation of teaching. You know, that there are so many schools that need harp, and they need to have this ability to give that gift to students. You know,
just the question is, is there enough places for the harpist afterwards to be able to live from that, or is it more or less for the hobby so that they can really enjoy to play the harp, but at the final they will need to do something else anyway? What do you think about this?
So there are so many studies that show the growth of excelling in grades and being able to finish projects, be collaborative, be, you know, working with people, the skills that you learn from disciplining yourself with an instrument. Those people usually have bigger successes in life, and they might not go into the instrument as a professional, but the instrument stays with them, and it provides them with skills that help them in their careers. It also makes them great citizens and helps support our arts. And so we're creating opportunities for people to serve within their own community someday. I feel that it's bigger than just the instrument.
I see. I just downloaded what you have sent to me, and I will now try to do something, but because I cannot download it into the program, but I will try to share my screen. Sure. It's a little complicated, so I'm sorry for this, but I will try to do so. Now I will application. Yes, I will just do this. So I hope you can see that now.
I am a harpist.
Can you see it?
Yes. It's
yes.
Great.
I am a harpist. I am a harpist. I am a harpist.
Soy artista.
I am a harpist. Soy artista.
I am a harpist.
Я арфистка.
I am a harpist.
I am a harpist. I am a harpist.
I am a harpist.
Man.
나는 하프 연주자입니다. I am a harpist. Soy arpista. I am a harpist.
I am a harpist. I am a harpist.
Oh, how sweet.
That's it. That's good. And then Elvis plays a little bit, but you can turn it off if you want. So good.
Wonderful. It's absolutely fantastic. Sorry for this. This should be like this. No. It's a scream. Sorry.
I actually started to cry because I haven't watched it in a while. I always get so moved by it because it's that legacy that we're showing. And then that picture, I don't know if you noticed, Megan Downs, she came to one of our harp colonies, and you were saying, do they still play the harp later? Well, she went to Rice University, but now she's an emergency room nurse. And just to see that, one of our healthcare providers, that's really meaningful.
That's really it's so touching. Absolutely, it's amazing what you do. Really, I'm here. We have also comment for that.
Oh, good.
Is this video on Facebook?
Yes, it is. It's under the Lyra Society. We've shared it all over the place, but the Lyra Society has a page on Facebook. Yeah.
Certainly, you should please share it on the Glowing Harp page.
Okay,
really,
we will.
It's. I mean, I'm also so touched by all these fantastic things what you do, and yeah, Liz, because may I just go through the pictures now for
Sure.
what I showed before. Just tell us a little bit about this.
This is perfect timing now because you just heard Elvis Diaz playing on the Chanera. This is the Festival de Arpa for young harpists. It's in Colombia, South America, in Villavicencio. And it was still one of the most incredible experiences of my life to go down there. I was invited by Julia Salvi, who started a foundation, as you know. She's from Colombia. And this festival, it gives opportunity for all these young arpistas to better themselves through the discipline of playing their instrument. But the folk element or the cultural element doesn't exist anyplace else. I've never experienced anything like it. And they come from all over the continent to travel for hours and hours in buses and cars and to come to compete. And there's 3 categories, and the very little ones, and then like Elvis's age, I think it goes through high school age. And there's another picture where I'm just with a big group of them. That's it. Yes. And you can see the costumes. So when they come to compete, they are wearing the beautiful costume that represents their native heritage. So, from Argentina or from Mexico or from, depends what country they're coming from. And then you see some of the girls have these beautiful, colorful dresses on. And this was very interesting. So we know the harp as being, very much a feminine and masculine instrument in most Western countries. In Asia, it's probably more feminine. In in Central and South America, it is masculine.
Mhm.
There were no young women playing the harp. In fact,
For example, we know Alfredo Rolando Ortiz. Yeah,
Yeah.
he also played as I have seen here, the instruments which are laying on the floor.
right.
It's the same kind of instrument, and I have never seen any women playing on those instruments at all.
So since Julia Salvi started this foundation and this competition, she would bring a harpist each year. And, you know, Emmanuel Cesson, I believe, went one time, but Maria Luisa Rayan came. And I'm trying to think who else was brought there. Oh, Catherine Finch was brought there. I was brought there. And little by little, you started seeing the harpists be little girls. And it wasn't until she did this, because they were allowed to play the maracas or the cuatro, which is usually what accompanies the genera, the harp. But they didn't play the harp. And now they're getting to play the harp.
Fantastic. This is also from there.
No, this is
Okay.
that was in Beijing. That was in Beijing.
But this also not. This is also not.
Getting into all my Asia travels. So so this was a very interesting and inspiring experience, and I hope that you can go someday and do this, because it was just amazing, and it makes you realize how global our instrument is, even though it's a very different kind of harp. You know, it's still the harp, and it's still. I think it's a magical instrument. So,
but I can also see that their enthusiasm for the instrument must be absolutely fantastic, because I think that they really must do it with a lot of passion and with a lot of pleasure and happiness, right?
Oh, definitely passion. I mean, they were so funny, because they always had to start off with a slow piece that and especially the young ones, they could not help themselves, because they knew the fast one's coming. And by the slow one, they get really going and they can't stop. And so we would just crack up. We were in the judges panel, especially the little ones. Like they just could not hold their tempo. They were just too excited to get to the quick tempo. It was so funny.
Fantastic. And here, I think that these are the pictures from that like experience. And now, as I showed already before, this is from the Asia place where you were traveling.
Yes, this is, and I know you've traveled there with your orchestra. This is at the Beijing Central Conservatory, and that's Guang in the tan sweater who play she's the professor of harp there. So I was working with some of these students, and I really think it's been because of Tan Dun, my relationship with the composer Tan Dun, that has allowed me to work with a lot of Chinese harpists, and also throughout Asia, because of the Nushu piece. It really galvanized the East meets West feeling of what we do, and because of the old Chinese music, and then the Western harpists playing the piece. So I've gotten to meet and really formed wonderful relationships over there. Because
I can imagine. You should really speak a little bit more about this piece. We will come to these pictures, because as I read from your biography, it must have been an amazing experience. And actually to know how did you get to that connection and how it has happened, everything like with this project, it will be really interesting to know. So maybe just only a few pictures from Asia when you were traveling there.
Shei Xuan's in this picture. We went to school with her.
Yes, of course, she's there.
This is in Taipei, and I was doing a master class, and the little girl to my right, she is blind, and she played amazing. I just couldn't believe it how she did.
Was that the girl who was also participating at the U.S. International Harp Competition? Because this was the first and the only time I have seen someone blind, but totally blind, and they brought her into the stage. Until the time I said everywhere it's not possible to play blind, but she was playing. Can you imagine really the pieces for the competition. She was playing the Fore Impromptu, and they brought her to the harp, and she played it. She played it even maybe better than the others who saw.
It's pretty remarkable. Yeah, I mean, to have, for her to have championed those pieces, and then be able to show them to the world. I mean, that was a remarkable accomplishment for her.
Unbelievable. But it's amazing that she, even the jumps and everything she can reach, without knowing actually. They showed her, or she just find out where to start.
Yeah.
By the notes, and then she really played. And I was amazed. I was really with my open mouth looking at it, not believing that it's possible.
Yeah, I didn't think it was possible until I, was right there next to her. And she, like you said, it was, it really takes your breath away. That's that's a miracle.
Is there any, but maybe when you work with her, does she has a braille notation, or how does she learn the pieces actually?
She uses her ear for most everything. I do believe there was some braille music, but she really uses her ear. And then she keeps a very low position on the harp. So she keeps in contact a bit with the board. But other than that, it's just, I mean, we can't really fully understand it, because obviously her tactile functions and her auditory functions are just at such a higher level. Just develop them. And she obviously is very gifted. So it's amazing to hear and see somebody like that, for sure.
Absolutely. Tell once more her name, because we should remember her name.
Oh, but I don't. Sheishwen would know. Sheishwen would know, and that's because sometimes the Chinese names don't always stick in my ear, and I can't remember.
Of course, don't worry. I thought that in case you would know, because she should be known.
No,
so
I think you're so overwhelmed by the experience of somebody like that musician playing blind.
I know.
Piece when you were playing, it was gorgeous.
Exactly. I mean, I could not believe that it's possible. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Here's your another trip to Vienna to the
another that was I think I hung out with Annaline during this trip. Annaline Arts.
Yes, here we are.
We went to the coffee shop and had very, very yummy it's like a dessert. It wasn't really even coffee at that point.
Here you are.
And she took me on a tour of the Vienna State Opera, which is a magnificent place. Really amazing.
Gorgeous. And here you are with Sylvan.
And yes, we did some wonderful, we all played concerts one summer together at Line and Healy. And that's Steve Fritzman, who has worked there for many years.
Absolutely. And what beautiful instruments behind the historical one, right?
Historical ones, yes. That is Sylvan's expertise.
Indeed. And here you are with Janice.
Yes, Janice. So she just won first prize at the Young Artist Harpist competition. And my student Subin just won second. So everything was done virtually online. So, and this young lady I've worked with in the past during my travels, and this was taken at the harp competition when we played, both you and I were playing the tribute concert for Miss McDonald.
And here it's another gifted girl.
Yes, in Beijing, we had a master class there. That was just a couple years ago. She was very talented. I remember this one.
It's always, I'm so amazed by these Asia people, like the Asia students. They are incredible in this age already. They really play incredibly.
They learn the repertoire at a very early age.
Yeah,
it is amazing. It is.
Yeah.
Amazing, so.
It's really amazing. I don't know how old this girl is, about 7 years old, maybe.
Yeah, she was really young. This one she was about 7 or 8.
Yeah. No, it's really amazing, because I don't know if you were in the South Korea in the Seoul competition. I was in the jury there, and there were like 3 categories also for these little children. I mean, it was not possible to say who was the better. Really, because they were so amazing. They were so amazing that we were thinking, well, the higher category was not as good as the little ones, because they were so amazing and they played really very difficult pieces.
Yes.
And they were just like, we were only sitting and just enjoying that it's possible. It was really totally amazing. So I understand.
Yeah.
And here we are with another.
This was in Dallas at the. So I played for the first Harptacular, which are these satellite mini festivals that Lion and Helia started throughout the United States, and these were some youngsters that wanted to come up, and I got to meet them after I was done playing.
It's so wonderful, and it's so wonderful that also these people, these little children, they are playing the harp, because it's so wonderful, really, to see. I knew only I knew only Harvey Griffin, like the black man playing.
Yeah, I had his record when I was young. I was so into him. Oh.
Yeah, indeed. But I have never met any other black lady or black man who played the harp. So
well, it's probably not as common in Europe, and it's becoming much more common here. And that's why it's so interesting how our world grows. We evolve musically, and the traditions that you can pass on to a whole new generation. And make the harp more diverse. It's incredible.
Absolutely. Yeah. Here you are also with a little girl.
This is one of the munchkins you're talking about. This is at the Korea harp competition. So I think you probably adjudicated the first one, and I did this next one. And this little one won the early division. And like you said, I think she played like Tournier, Vers la Source or something, just so musically. It was really beautiful. Yeah.
Impressive. It's absolutely impressive. And here we come to our great friend.
That's at the Korea harp competition. We're having a special dinner, and there's Naoko Yoshino and Maria Luisa Rayan.
Gorgeous. And here is also with some winner.
Yes, this is one of the other young harpists. And I worked with Minji. I think her name's. I'd have to look at my notes. See, when you work with the students, you probably do the same thing. I'll keep a journal, but then I got to get it out. But I immediately, when I see her face, I'm like, oh my gosh! I remember how she played.
It's difficult to remember everything. Don't worry, but we all understand, and the students certainly understand as well. So here we have also a beautiful picture. Where is it, this one?
Hangzhou in China. And I don't know if you've played there. This is a crazy hotel. I just thought that you would be interested to see it. It's like a Hyatt or a Sheraton. I forget what kind of hotel it is, but it's a big hall. And then the concert hall there is just spectacular. It looks like a spaceship. Everything is so futuristic looking. And my former student from Curtis, Danija, she met me here, and we had some dinner together. And she's playing in some orchestras now in China as a principal harpist.
It's true that in China they have amazing halls. I mean, they have so amazing halls. I have never seen also this kind of, like, really, it's so, you can't, and in every city they have a new hall which looks not like this, but every is different, but it looks so unusual towards the normal concert halls you see everywhere in the world. I mean, it's amazing, really, super beautiful.
Yeah, I believe when the Philadelphia Orchestra has a long relationship with China, particularly Beijing, because we were the first orchestra to play there. This is when Chairman Mao was still in reign. And so when we started going back quite regularly. I believe they said something like 40 new concert halls were built in 3 years.
I know that they have also in one concert hall, they had the pictures of all these new concert halls all over the China. And this how to say, well, the people who are constructing it, they are always finding something totally unique, and it's really like futurism. It's like for 100 years later than we are now in this years,
like the Jetsons.
Yeah, it's really super, very nice picture. Thank you so much for sharing with us.
This is Danyi. This is my student who is now a professional there. She's originally from Shanghai. And so we met at the Golden Ball. And it's right across from the concert hall. I believe I'm wearing this same outfit. I had a photo shoot taken in front of that concert hall.
I will show you right now because this is really, really gorgeous picture. Absolutely.
That's it. It's really something. And there were 2 halls in there. One's opera house and one was a concert hall.
That's amazing. This is like a poster, you know, it is really a postcard or poster. It is super beautiful picture. And also with this harp, we can see it now from France, so that how unique instrument it is. And with all, of course, you and the colors and it's just gorgeous.
This photo was taken by Christopher Lee, who he lives in New York City and he travels with the Philadelphia Orchestra on most of our tours.
I see. No, that's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And here it's
that was such a nice memory. This was just recently. We went to my best friend from the orchestra and I treated us for our birthdays to go hear Turandot at the Met. And because our music director, Yannick Nézet-Séguin, is also the music director at the Metropolitan Opera. And so Emmanuel Cesson, he gave us a backstage tour at one of the intermissions. I think there were 2 intermissions. It's a long opera. And we had such a blast, so much fun. And so we're kicking our heels up, literally. So,
but also these red harps, the red salcedos, this is so unique for the Metropolitan.
Emmanuel, that's him. You know, and
you cannot put anywhere else. True. And here we come to your teaching again.
And this was also very recent. So this just right after Turandot, I think I left the next day to go here to Argentina, and I was there at the invitation of Maria Luisa Rayan. And we had this the very first International Harp Academy or Harp Festival in Argentina. And so that was a very, very special thing that they put together. And it was really, again, one of those very special experiences because you're dealing with not the big city of Buenos Aires, but we were in Santa Fe, which is I would say it's quite a ways away from, it was like a 6-hour car ride. And so I like it when you go to one of these countries or cities in a country where you don't normally go to, and it's not so touristy. And I just had a fantastic time. I don't know. Have you traveled to South America much?
I was only in maybe 3 countries there, but not too many. Not maybe 4 or 5 times.
Okay. Yeah, I think that it's really it's just a whole different world, and you don't get the idea of it unless you go. You have to go. I mean,
absolutely.
It's really I don't even know how to begin to describe it.
I have never been to Colombia, but I was in Venezuela. I was in Brazil, and I was in, I don't know in which other. I know that I was in 3, but I don't know in which one. So,
were you, and did you go to, when you were in Brazil, you were in Sao Paulo, or did you go to?
Sao Paulo, I was playing in Sao Paulo and also in Rio de Janeiro. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it again, it's very different than Colombia, where I explained the amazing opportunity with these young students who play the Janera.
Mm.
But Marcela Mendez, do you know Marcela Mendez?
I think so. Yeah, I do.
She is the one who she's really on the ground there doing amazing things with harp. And that's what's so exciting, is that you're seeing, first it was the World Harp Congress, and it gathered certain countries together, and now you're seeing people like Marcela, who's like, I think I can do this here. And so she's developing an entire new tradition in her community. And I think that's really what, I think we should be doing with the harp. It's more than just an instrument.
And it's spreading to the countries where it has never been before, or it has not been so much before. So that's great. Here we have also little ones.
Yeah, they were a couple of characters. That was all of these last photos. I don't know how I traveled so much it was like October and November. And these were students in Seoul, Korea. And they were just so much fun. Sisters.
I can see that.
It just a riot. And Sunghae is their teacher. She plays with Songnam Philharmonic. I don't know if you know her, but it's just, again, these wonderful relationships that I've been fortunate to have.
That's very true. And we come to your studies at IU, or your college time. But before we come to college time, I'll show you this picture, if you remember that.
This was when we were together in Bloomington the last time.
Indeed.
That's the last time I saw you in person.
I know.
And this is with Kirsten Agresta. And we were all very, very afraid to play. It was too much pressure to play in front of the entire jury and all the participants of the competition for this Suzanne McDonald tribute. I was like, oh.
Indeed. But it was wonderful to meet all
you played the Moldau. I'll never forget it. Yes. You own that like nobody. I mean, it's just unbelievable to hear you play that. Every now and then I'll be going through the Facebook and I'll come across, here's Jana playing Moldau. Okay, I'm going to stop what I'm doing and listen to that. So amazing.
It was great time. So certainly I missed that. And I wanted to show also the picture. I had it somewhere, but probably I did not upload it. When we all were there at this time, when we were all the players were there in one picture, but maybe I will find it. But here it's your picture. This is in Israel during the Israel competition.
Yes. That's Mariko Anraku.
Of course.
Right. And she just, because she came and made a comment on the beginning of the interview today.
Yes.
And then we have Junghwa Lee, who went to Indiana, then she went to Curtis. And then she's now living in France with her husband, who's a flute player. And there we are. The Tower of David, the Citadel's up there behind us.
It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous view, really. It's gorgeous. And here it's with Mr. Molnar. This is Joseph Molnar.
Because you knew him too, right? Yeah, he was such a wonderful, what a big presence he was.
It was amazing. And this was in his festival in Soka, or?
It was the Soka festival, yeah.
Nice. All these memories our generation have. I mean, we have to be, I'm so grateful for that, because I think that our community was so much together, because now, of course, we have to be thankful that thanks to the technology, we can also meet like that and we can talk, and that we all have the time to be together all the time. But at that time, when there was this technology, I think that we were so close, because we could have, when we met, we really were together. In the way that, so I think that our generation, it's so close to each other, maybe more than the generation of our students now, because they are more connected like through the screen than connected by written mails or postcards or phone calls or really meeting in person.
Well, for you to come to Bloomington, for example, I mean, think about the effort you made. I think it's easier in a way because of the technology, but what we were doing, you always had to make a big effort and a big commitment to get wherever you needed to go. And so, and why did we make the big effort? Because we were all inspired by one great lady, and that's Suzanne McDonald. And I think that that is a huge part of, like you're saying, our generation. And there we are. We're in the back of a shuttle van. This is in Israel with Linda Wood-Rollo, and there's Miss McDonald. And you know, I think, you know, she certainly gave us all this ambition to cherish the harp and to share it with others, for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Here is also with Naoko Yoshino.
Yes, and if I see one more picture with my hair looking like that, I think I'm going to scream.
Don't worry.
Hair. I mean, I had a perm all through college. Oh my gosh. And now look at me. It's like
no, but you know, it was a style of the time. If I look at my picture, I just can't believe it. What we have wear, you know, but at the time it was the style. It was the way how it was used to. And here's with Eleanor Fell. It's so lovely. She was also your friend, good friend of yours.
She was the first, really, I mean, she made such an impact on me. Again, you know, she was there right alongside Miss McDonald. So, you know, I had Suzanne McDonald as my teacher, but I had Eleanor as my friend and support. Like she was sort of like my cheering section. And I did a lot of gigging and a lot of pop music throughout my high school years into my college years. And so she was a big inspiration because she studied with Al Shalafu, and she was on that whole end of the spectrum. So she kind of connected with me because of our backgrounds. And
that's interesting to know, because that I did not know. And of course, she doesn't look like that she plays the Salcedo method, you know? So
no, but she went to Camden Harp Colony. And, you know, my last CD I made, I recorded one of the pieces she used to play called Cycling Along With You. And it's such a wonderful tune. And she unfortunately passed away in 2012. And she was just, one of my dearest friends. And I still have her with me.
She was an amazing lady. She was really not replaceable lady. She was one of those who is not replaceable.
No, she wasn't. She just, I mean, Vanderbilt music was like it was like the watering hole. It's like everybody showed up there after master class. Like
we were all looking there all the time.
We were always there, and she always had like food because we were hungry students. So like, what do you have to eat?
Exactly. That's really true. And these memories are unique for us. It's you and
Victoria Drake. She's a harpist, and she was one of the other participants in my first camel ride in Israel.
The first and last, or have you ever?
I haven't been on one since, I don't think. I prefer a horse.
And here, of course, mention Jasha Bell.
Yeah, we've stayed very close. You know, we entered as freshmen together in Indiana University, and I was just thrilled to celebrate his wedding at his home in New York State this past fall. And see his sister Toby. She was another great friend of mine, and his mother Shirley Bell, and great family. And he's a wonderful friend.
It's lovely that you, since the studies, you stayed still together in contact. That's really wonderful. And here we are at, where is it? Because there is also Ella, as I can see.
Ella, this is on stage at the Musical Arts Center. So this was just recently, right after Miss McDonald wanted to retire. I went and taught there, as you did. You taught there for
3 months, yeah.
months? Okay, I was there for the whole year, well, off and on. I had to still play in the orchestra some of the time. But yes. So this was after a Wagner concert. That's why there's so many harps.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So you all played together?
Well, the students played. I was sitting in the audience listening. I had helped coach them a little bit. But
mine. So how many was it?
I think we had 6 harps. I think you just can't see the one behind Jeremy.
Wow.
Yeah, I think there were 6 harps. Yeah.
That's super nice. Hey, here we are in 03.
No, that's the one I was teaching that year, and that's Natalie Hoffman.
We are all on this the plates. All the names of ours are there. And here, this picture I showed already before, but just quickly, these are your students from Curtis?
Yes. We were performing together at one of the American Harp Society events. This was in Utah about 3 or 4 summers ago. And I decided we were going to reestablish the Salzedo Harp Ensemble, which is something Salzedo used to do and travel really the nation with. And they used to put the harps on trains and to go to the next concert. And so I had an old program that I used to sort of, build the new ensemble on. And we played some of those same works. And what was interesting, he would often highlight solos in between the ensemble pieces. So we did that in that concert. So that particular concert, I had each of them play one of the poetical studies by Salzedo. And I think we played all 5 of them, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, it was a really amazing concert.
That's super. And are you going to do it again? Or was it?
I think we will. I think we do play around Philadelphia. It's not always easy to go on the road with a harp ensemble. So we had hoped to do one of the harp congresses at some point. So maybe that'll happen the next time. It would be nice to do it.
Yeah. Certainly to travel by train would not be easy now. But can you imagine how the people could have done it in the past? It's just like, they could do anything, just that it was their passion to do it.
Yeah, there was a way, and they put them in the harp trucks and off they went. They did it.
Oh my God. Here you are also with the student.
This is Claire Ty. Claire just recently won one of the Ann Adams Awards. The American Harp Society, and this was her Carnegie Hall debut. She was subbing with us, and we did the Strauss Alpine Symphony.
Congratulations. It's really, you have wonderful students and really very successful. It's fantastic. Super. Oh, here we are in this again.
So Elvis Diaz, who you heard at the end of that video, this is him when he was 16 years old. And I brought him to Philadelphia because I wanted him to share his music with our Lyra Society students. So they had never heard a harp like that before. So he not only went into the schools with me, but we also had him play at our big gala benefit concert. And actually Charles Dutoit was there, and he was blown away by him. He was like, I've never heard anything like this before. So I was glad to bring Elvis there, and I'm hoping I want to bring Elvis back to the States with his trio soon.
Sure, you should. Here we are. This is also another picture of probably Lyra, no?
Yeah, this is from All City Orchestra. So this is it's like basically what it says. It's an orchestra comprised of students from all over Philadelphia. And once a year, they have their big concert at the Kimmel Center. So we had our teaching artists, there's Elizabeth Steiner and Helen Gerhold, our executive director of the Lyra Society. And then these students performed on stage with Yannick, actually on this concert. He conducted the finale. So it was really exciting. And that was in the harp studio backstage.
Super, super, super. And here you are also in the Carnegie Hall.
Yes, and this is with Helen Gerhold, who is, like I said, our executive director for the Lyra Society.
And here we come to probably to your project, or the new piece which was written for you by the famous composer from China, Tan Dun. What is the pronunciation exact?
Tan Dun.
Tan Dun. Yeah, exactly. So how did it come? Is it? I hope that I am correct.
Yes, this is it. This was, I think this represents our first working. It might have no. Actually, it's the second one. Because we had sort of some working sessions before he wrote the orchestral part to New Shu. And so this was at this was in Shanghai, and he had just been rehearsing with the Chinese instruments. So he works with all of the classical organizations, but he also works with their native instruments. So, and it was a fascinating rehearsal, I heard. And and he's holding the score there. So I definitely think that we were probably preparing the Shanghai, the premiere. Yeah, it was sort of a soft premiere. He's sneaky that way. So it was like, I think he wanted to vet it out. And so it's a complicated piece to put together in the start. Now it's like a well-oiled machine, the way it comes together.
Tell a little bit about this, how it came, how it started, how have it actually happened that you were asked, or that you could do this project, or how? Tell me everything, how it came.
Okay, because I get really excited about this one. So, for you, I don't know what it's like for your orchestra and if you commission many new works. The Philadelphia Orchestra has a long history of commissioning new works. And we had not had a harp concerto written for us since the Ginastera harp concerto. I'm name dropping a little bit. I mean, that's pretty amazing that my orchestra is responsible for that piece coming to be. And that was Edna Phillips and Ormandy. And wrote that piece, and it was premiered by Zabaleta. So at the time I said, why don't we have, when the time came to discuss a new harp concerto, so it's been way too long, let's make sure we get a good one, because you know how it can be. It can be, it'll be a nice piece, but maybe it won't get played, right? It doesn't get played. I said, I want it to get played, so we need a composer that will write a melody. And so I said, let's ask Tan Dun. He has a nice relationship with us. We've worked with him. He's been in residence with us when we're in Saratoga. So I asked him. He's like, I'm so busy right now. Maybe next year we'll talk about it. So I just kind of kept at him. And I saw him backstage in Shanghai. We had just played. And I said, Tan, what about the harp concerto? And so he's like, oh, that's right. I remember driving in my Ford Explorer up to New York State to Saratoga Harp Colony, and the phone rings, and it's Tan Dun. And I'm like, oh, I have to pull over. I pulled over to a rest area. I'm like, okay, he says, it's time. I know what we're going to do. We are going to do this piece for harp, and it's going to be based on a secret language of women. And I was just like, what on earth? I've never heard of such a thing. So he described, this hidden, basically it's a hidden language to some degree. Most people in China have never heard of it, New Shu. And it was mainly written or sung.
Mhm.
And it's a syllabic language in that it's not a character language,
Mhm.
so it's phonetic. So as in Chinese, it's all symbol-based. And this is actually a phonetic-based language that women wrote because they didn't have a voice because of the way they were oppressed in that current society at the time. And they would usually weave it into garments and embroider these beautiful little, almost looks like Tanzan says like insect wings, or like he says it even has a feminine form.
Mhm.
And I believe there's 600, I can't remember the exact number of words. So it's not as developed a language, but it was definitely used for an extensive period of time, and men did not understand it. And so that's why I say it's a secret or hidden language.
Mhm.
So this language is originated in the Hunan province, and Tan went to do extensive field research there, which he always does for all of his projects. He always takes whatever part of his culture is dear to him and he exposes it through music. And it's just, and I think he's always doing it in kind of a speedy way, because you see, like we're talking about the new concert halls being built, as quickly as these new buildings go up, you feel like the old parts will die away. And so Tan is always trying to bridge those two things.
Mhm.
And so he created a multimedia work, and it's not truly a harp concerto, but I think it is a very impressive and powerful piece that features the harp as the soloist. It's more of like the storyteller.
Mhm. Mhm.
So the harp is out front and center. And when I was first going to go to Shanghai to work on the sketches for the piece, because that's kind of how he works,
Mhm.
he started faxing me. I'm like, Tan, I'm supposed to play some of this for this Shanghai Arts Festival. You haven't given me anything. And literally 24 hours before, he starts faxing me manuscript. So I'm like trying to quickly learn some of this. And he goes, and I'm sending you the videos. And I'm like, what? Videos? So he's like, it's important that you learn the timing with the videos. So basically, there are 13 microfilms,
Mhm.
and each one sort of is an identified story within this village and the traditions that they grew up with. So one is a mother teaching a daughter how to create the script. Okay.
Mhm.
And she's singing to her, and it's a duet, and I'm accompanying them. And so here I am. And again, this is technology based. You have the video, and you're like, I'm playing with somebody who's never traveled outside their village, in a remote place in the world. It's pretty extraordinary.
That's amazing.
So each film captures some event in life. There's cry singing for the wedding because she's being pulled from her family, and so that's a very dramatic one. There's one about two sisters, and so in this tradition, in this Chinese culture, when you're taken at like age 13, you're taken from your family to be married. And so they felt it wasn't completely fair. So you at least get a girlfriend, which is good, called Lao Tang. And Lao Tang is for life. And so there is this relationship that you build with this other person chosen for you by a matchmaker. It's female. And so there's one of the movies about this. And it's very touching. And it's not just about female representation. It's really humanity, and it's a very, very moving journey. And it makes you realize what empowers people, how they can overcome, their environment. And I thought, wow, to have the harp as the mouthpiece to tell this story is really amazing. And literally every time we've given a performance of it, or I've done it with Tan now in several countries. We did the Australian premiere. I've done this premiere in Spain. Everybody is so moved. and you see people like crying, and it's very touching. Although the very ending is really energetic, so don't worry, you won't. He always packs a punch at the end with his pieces, but it really is an amazing piece. It's not a conventional piece. It's not a conventional concerto, and it takes some work to put it together. But I would love to see it become more commonplace in our repertoire and more people doing it.
And is it possible to hear it somewhere? Do you have on YouTube the recording or not?
So he's been very protective of it because we finally recorded it and it's about to be released. So we did it with video with Yannick in the Philadelphia Orchestra, and they are going to be releasing it within, I would say, maybe the next month. So yeah, it's very exciting. Very exciting.
I would certainly, if there is a permission, I would be really happy to share it with the audience. So.
I think I could probably at least share one of the segments with you. So I'll definitely see about doing that. Okay.
That's wonderful. Really, I'm excited. So much excited, and really, so congratulations also for this. This is fantastic.
Yeah.
So how many times did you perform it already?
Oh, I think I've probably performed it about 15, 16 times because we took it on tour and with the Philadelphia Orchestra throughout China. And then, and Tan, he did not tell me he was going to do this. At the Shanghai performance, I didn't know that he had brought some of the women from the village there. And the one that was like, so yeah, see these women. So I didn't know, and this was actually in Hunan TV later, so I knew they were going to be there then. But after I performed it, they come up on stage. I couldn't believe it because all I'd seen the one that's right next to me, the shorter one. I love her, and she said to me, and they had to translate it. She's like, I have always wanted to have an American granddaughter, and now I do. And it was so sweet. And they really were just amazing. And just the power of seeing them present on stage. And the only relationship I ever had with them was on a video screen. So it was pretty amazing.
Oh, this is so touching. It's because here we have also the photos from it.
Yes, that was a performance that I did with Tan Dun at the Hong Kong Philharmonic. And this was, this is one of my favorite songs in the work. And it's Longing for Sister. It's called.
Oh, it's so touching. These stories. This is also probably from that.
This is from the Hunan TV presentation. So I was doing some of it. Some of it's actually pretty full because of the way he wrote it, that I can actually perform parts of it with the video and just the harp. I've done a few presentations that way with it.
But otherwise, it's really, as we see, it's really with a huge orchestra.
Yes, it's a big orchestra.
And here is some poster.
Isn't that dramatic? Isn't that gorgeous?
Absolutely.
So this was from one of the movements where the daughter is being prepared for her wedding, and they're putting the headpiece down on her head. And the music is so impactful at that moment. It's just extraordinary.
Oh, mine. And here you have all the people also.
Yes. So that's Yannick. And this was in Changsha. So this was probably the most important place for Tan Dun to have his piece premiered because it's his hometown.
Yes.
And we had most of those women from the movies, from the films here, from the village. And it was very incredible. And the theater, this was not one of the new theaters because at this point, Changsha didn't have a typical symphony hall. So we played in this old theater, and you can't see it in this picture, but literally they used the bass instrument trunks to hold up some of the screens and the technical equipment, because there was nothing. It was just like this big old shell. and the audience, no orchestra had been to Changsha until this point. And so when they got done with the piece, I think it was actually the symphony. I think they played the Dvorak New World Symphony. Anybody was clapping because they were all holding their phones, video recording. But we're like, why isn't anybody clapping? Oh, they're all holding their phone.
Oh my. But certainly they must have been also impressed, because certainly they don't hear the harp, solo harp with their own piece, actually a Chinese piece with the orchestra often, because it doesn't exist so many compositions as far as I know.
No. I mean, I play the one piece, the folk tune that's very well known that they play in the guzheng, the long boat-like instrument. Spring flowers under the spring, mid flowers under a spring moon next to the river, and I cannot remember the pronunciation in Mandarin. But the effects and the sounds that Tan Dun created for the pedal harp, the concert grand harp, it's really amazing, and it's very evocative of what the Chinese instruments can sound like.
Because here we have another photo from that.
Yeah, this was Hong Kong Philharmonic when we did the New Shoe premiere there.
And here is
this is right during the recording session. This is just more recently where we had a day of recording the Tan Dun score. And now we finally finished the editing. It took a long time. It was a very complicated project. And so we're hoping you'll all hear it soon.
Yeah, I hope so too. And I wish we have the chance. Here we have.
This is a wonderful man. This is from a few years back. Did you ever work with Frubeck de Burgos?
No.
Raphael Frubeck de Burgos was a longtime friend of the Philadelphia Orchestra. He came and conducted almost every year. And we became friends, over the years. And he's like, Elizabeth, you should play my Tarina. And I was like, I don't know the Tarina. He's like, oh, the Tarina is wonderful. He loved the piece and loves the harp. And it was a piano piece, and he arranged it for harp and orchestra. And it's the Tema y Variaciones. And it is a beautiful work, not very long, like 10 minutes, 11 minutes, kind of like WC dances. And just beautiful, really beautiful. Yeah.
That's so interesting to know about all these things, and we should really hear it, and we should just promote it. It's important for the harp world. We have here comments also from Veronica, who is happy that you are also playing.
Wonderful.
The piece. And maybe I'll come back. Maybe this is also from, this is still from the Chinese premiere.
Yes, this was in Beijing, I believe. Very important premiere, very important for Tan Dun and just the orchestra and our history there.
Fantastic. And here
there's a little photo shoot. Tan Dun he's just so much fun, and he's just so imaginative and like striking.
And it was also his first experience with the harp, right? Or did he wrote many pieces for the harp before, like chamber music or something like that?
Just a little bit of chamber music, and then he puts the harp in some of his orchestral pieces. And it was really, this was his foray into like a solo harp piece. Yeah.
It's fantastic that he did it. Here you have another picture.
This is an old one. That's Michael Tilson Thomas. So I don't know I'm trying to remember when you left Bloomington and I left Bloomington. I went to play in the New World Symphony. It had just started. So I was one of the harpists for their first full season down in Miami, and now it's a long time institution. And that I had gone back to play a solo with him, And then we did also Mahler 6 alumni weekend. It was so much fun.
Mm-hmm. And here you are on the tour, probably.
Yeah, that's a tour. Those are our wonderful stage hands.
Mm-hmm.
And as any harpist, any touring harpist knows, you should become very good friends with your stage hands.
Exactly.
You get them nice Christmas gifts every year. They've got to be your good guys.
Here you are also somewhere. It's outside. It's an open air concert.
This was an amazing event. This is when Pope Francis came to the United States, and the Philadelphia Orchestra played 2 concerts or two ceremonies with the Pope. So that was really an amazing historical event.
Mm-hmm. Must have been for thousands of people, right?
Oh my gosh, they had to, they closed off blocks and blocks because they had to be, you know, very safe, you know, security wise. And yeah, it was just an impressive, very peaceful, very, very meaningful 2 days of celebration.
It's great. And here you are.
That's Yannick.
He likes the harp. That's nice to know.
I made him sit down. I said, "You're going to have your first harp lesson." So he's got a nice position already, I think.
For the first lesson, super nice. But he had also a great teacher. And we come to here we are. Here's the picture which I was looking for before when we were with Miss McDonald on her tribute.
That's very nice to
the performers. Yeah, that's
nice.
And here's, of course, the pictures with Miss McDonald, which should be mentioned certainly because she means so much to all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. I just speaking with her pretty regularly during these last few months, and she's been doing really well. And yes, so she loved Maestro Stefan, and Maestro Stefan loved her. She's a beautiful woman. She is amazing woman. I think we had played La Mer, and Miss McDonald was like, "Wow, that's what it's supposed to sound like." I'm not dissing school orchestra, but
I can hear her when you're saying that.
This is with dear little Isabella McCormick. She was just at my harp colony, and she's now 13 years old. She's getting much taller, but she was playing it here for the Stars of Tomorrow at the USA Harp Competition. She is an incredible talent. She just performed Legende. Really impressive, really outstanding young lady.
Great. We should focus on her. Yes, Miss Catherine.
This was Catherine. Yeah, that was so much fun. That was very exciting. I was really excited because I was like, do you realize we've only had one other winner from the United States? And she's like, oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, indeed, it was the first one, and now she is. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's fantastic.
And here it's again.
Yeah, that was another. That was right after you played in Bloomington. We played for the tribute there. This was the one for the American Harp Society in Atlanta, Georgia. So we had Maria Luisa played it for this. Maria Casale, Naoko Yoshiko played, and
here we are.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. Oh, and Ann Young. Yeah.
Right.
There we all are. That was really fun, really beautiful concert. Yeah.
And here.
Oh, we're celebrating. She had come to Philadelphia, and she taught all of our glissando harp students for the Lyra Society. We had a fall festival, and it was so impactful. And she spent so much time, even the beginners, she was just so embracing of, and they felt like they were very special, that she would take the time to teach them. So it was a really wonderful weekend.
I can imagine this. Oh, you are also with small dogs.
Yeah, Cosmo goes everywhere. So this was in Indianapolis. I did a benefit concert for the USA Harp competition. This was, fall of 2018, I think. Yeah.
Mhm. And because Miss McDonald also has dogs, and
Yes. We have white dogs.
indeed, indeed. And I have here also a picture when we were in Bloomington, if you remember that.
Irish Lion.
Yes,
We were at the Irish Lion.
indeed.
That's
indeed.
great. That's
And I have here some pictures from your private life.
okay.
So, because you are not only great movies, but you are really a sportsman.
So yeah, I do yoga just about every day. It's a
Oh.
very important part of my life. And this was actually at the Ford Amphitheater in Vail, Colorado, not far down the road from here, where the Philadelphia Orchestra normally has a summer residency. And I was taking a little break. On
You're
my
amazing. I would never be able to. Maybe when I was child, I was. And you're also doing some bikes.
This is what I love to do while I'm out here. I am obsessed with mountain biking. It for me is so invigorating, and I get to be in the gorgeous outdoors. And I just find it's just one of my favorite things I do. I love
The
it.
nature is also so beautiful. I totally can understand this. This is fantastic to be outside. Here's another one.
Yeah, that's actually with an orchestra colleague. He's a violist from my orchestra, David Nicastro. He went to Indiana. And he came over from Vail one day. The orchestra, was in residence. I said, why don't you come ride over here, show you some trails? And so that's what we were doing. It was a beautiful day, as you can see.
And you are also riding the horses.
Yes, I wish I could have a horse, but I don't think my husband would allow me to have. So we go riding occasionally. There's some great ranches nearby. It's amazing.
Carry the harp on the horse would not be very You're also skiing. Tell me, you are not afraid of?
I was just explaining this to somebody the other day. Well, I explained it to my father, who's like, you're going to hurt yourself. I have to watch your hands. And people say, aren't you worried about your hands? And I'm like, if I'm worried about my hands and not worried about what's in front of me while I'm on my skis, then that's the problem. It's just like performing. You have to be focused with what you're doing. And I feel like skiing and the biking, it's actually an amazing analogy. Like it really does help me focus in a very similar way. You're just looking ahead. You're always looking ahead and what's coming next and preparing for it.
Well, if you have been skiing since you are a child, then of course it's natural way. Yeah.
I haven't been. David taught me how to ski. I did not ski. I didn't get to do any sports, Jana, until basically once I got my orchestra position. I finally said, I'm going to do everything I've always wanted to do. My parents were always afraid I was going to break something or hurt myself. So yeah, I kind of went a little crazy with it. I just love it. And
that's impressive. That's really impressive that you were not afraid to start. So like when you were already an adult,
Yeah, I was probably 26 when I started to ski.
Nice.
Yeah. And that's when I got into biking as well. I mean, I biked when I was a kid, but not this kind of biking.
Not so much. That's wow. That's amazing. Here you are with the kangaroo.
There's little Joey. Yeah, so I don't know if you've been to Australia, but the new shoe piece took me to Australia, which was a fantastic experience. And this was at a wildlife preserve where you got to hand feed the kangaroos. Have you ever done that?
I've seen the kangaroo in the city. I was impressed when I was there in Canberra, And I just was driving in the city, and there was a kangaroo on the road, and I said, like, he's waiting. There is a big, nice sculpture, because it looks like that he's waiting for the bus. You know, he was just like waiting on the sidewalk, and I said, like, well, they have the sculpture of kangaroo here. I said, like, no, it is really kangaroo. It's like it's everywhere. Amazing, yeah. You have also one.
Yeah, the little ones were fine. There were some that were really big. I was like a little freaked out by. I mean, because you're just in there with all of them, and there were like some that like had the guns, like they were ripped and really like to you, like your head. And I'm like, I don't want that one getting near me.
Not at all. And here I think that I have one more picture.
Oh, that's outside the concert hall where we played New Shoe, and it's in Adelaide, Australia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. And now we have a gorgeous pictures of our beautiful guest today. These are the PR pictures, Elizabeth. You really have gorgeous pictures. Of course, there is a model to be taken, so as you, because it's really fantastic, but the photographers are also fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, this was a good girlfriend of mine. And this one I was pretty glammed up for. They put like all kinds of false eyelashes on me and stuff. And that was in Shanghai for a Shanghai shoot. Yeah.
Beautiful. This one also, I made a promotion today for the interview. This is really also beautiful. With everything, like everything fits so much together.
Oh, thank you. This one was it wasn't easy to be in the lavender field with bees buzzing around you. But I'm glad we did it. And actually the gown that I'm wearing, when I had time, I actually made that dress. I used to make all of my concert dresses.
No.
Yeah, I did. My mother was an amazing seamstress, and she taught my sister and me how to sew. And so I made most everything I performed in.
Oh, my compliment. That's amazing.
Wow. And now I don't have really much time to. And so now, thank goodness for Zara.
You have in the States, you have so beautiful dresses. I'm always buying suitcases of dresses in the US.
I remember that. I remember you bought a bunch of dresses.
I did not change. I did not change since. You have also another nice. This you saw also? Did you did it by yourself as well?
No, this one actually was since the orange gown. This one was my girlfriend, dear friend in Saratoga Springs, who recently sold her business. She had a bridal salon and special occasion salon, and she dressed me for this. And this was a French gown. The dressmaker is Cymbeline, and amazing dresses. I mean, I would never have a dress like this if it weren't for her. And so it's nice to have somebody. And you, young harpists, you should find, people like this to help support you, because they can dress you. You don't always have to buy everything.
Great advice. Absolutely. And I think that we went out of the pictures. I think that only this one I have not shown. I don't know what is this.
Okay. So I don't know. Did you ever do Cartagena Music Festival? So this was something, again, Julia Salvi founded this festival. And that's what led me to do the Via Vicencio with the young Panera players. So this festival is incredible. It's just world class. I mean, wonderful musicians come to perform at it. And so she usually has one or two harpists. Manuel Sesson, I know, has done it many times. And it's in a beautiful place in the Caribbean. And I'll never forget this performance. We were just talking about Rodrigo, and I was playing the Sonas and Hirada, that cute, charming little piece by Rodrigo. And after the performance, the backstage people said, well, there's some fans that want to meet you. And so we'll bring you out here, and they want to congratulate you on your performance. And there was Martha Stewart. And I thought I was going to lose it because, I I don't get too starstruck, but there's certain people, like I was always a Martha Stewart fan. Like I had all her cookbooks and the way I decorated my home and so she's like, well, I'm just a huge fan. It sounded just, I mean, it was just like, it was Martha Stewart. And I was like, I'm a huge fan of yours. And she's like, I love this Rodrigo piece. And it was really like one of those memorable moments. I mean, I don't think I've ever had such a famous person who come to my performance.
That's fantastic. And it's great to know that also not only that he likes you, but that really likes the harp as well. That's wonderful.
Yeah, it was really amazing.
Bravo, bravo. I have here one more picture.
That's in Cartagena. That was the resident toucan. They had a pair of them. They were a couple. And they were so, I mean, look how cute that bird is. I mean, just amazing. And they would come and they would take the piece of food right out of your hand.
That's really, I would not even believe that it's real, you know.
It doesn't look real. It doesn't look real.
It really doesn't, but it's amazing. Super. And I have one picture which you certainly remember when we were in Bloomington together.
Oh,
I
that's
just wanted to show that
Jana. Oh,
I really miss you, Liz, and I really hope that we will have a chance not only to see like that, but in reality soon. Yeah, because all your projects which you are doing, it's just amazing. It's something what is so special, and you do it really with the open heart. And I'm so thankful for everything. And it's really bravo for what you have done, what you are doing, and what you are going to do. Because we need people like you, and there is so few of them, and you are really one of those few. And I'm so thankful.
thank you so much, Jana. You're such a dear friend, and truly, I feel we're kindred spirits. You know, I think we're just passionate about the harp and what we can bring to people. And I really appreciate you bringing me to this new platform that you've created. This is a beautiful thing. So thank you.
You cannot be missed, of course, and you're really star. So I'm so glad that you made your time and that we could have been together. But of course, as your life is so rich and you have so many plans, can you share with us what's now coming in your mind to do after all these pandemics finishes, and that you can start again what you want to do?
Well, it's funny you asked that. I feel guilty. You know, this pandemic, I don't know about you. You probably are the same way. You just feel like I got to do so many projects right now because, you know, you're shut in and now I have time. And I think this has been the most difficult project. I have just barely scratched the surface of, as I'm trying to write a book. I'm trying to write a children's book. And it has to do with the harp, of course. And I'm also hoping to make what would be like a family concert out of this book. So I've got a long way to go, but that's my hope, is to see this through. So
that's fantastic. Well, that's fantastic. So the children's book is about to present the harp, or
yeah, it's a story about the harp, and I can't give you any more details yet.
Of course. But I'm excited like a child. No, I'm so happy for that information, and of course I wish you good luck with that. It's super nice. Really bravo for doing it. And it's great occasion actually when this time gives you this opportunity to do it, and it's that you could find the opportunity to find time for starting something what is your dream. So when do you think that it will be released? When do you think that you finish?
Oh gosh, I have no idea. I don't know, Jana. It's literally, this is the most difficult thing I've ever tried to do. And you know, and I've heard that about writing. It's not easy. And I have a close friend who is a percussionist, and she's written 2 incredible books recently, and she's coming out with a 3rd. And I'm like, how are you doing this? I think some people have more of a natural ability, you know, for writing, and I get easily distracted. You know, I'm not a patient person, and I think you need a lot of patience.
But Liz, maybe it's something new. Maybe in 1 month you will see that it goes much more smoother as well, you know. So
You'll be the first to know, okay?
I'm excited to see and to hear. Thank you so much to share this information with us. And Liz, now in these days, because you have morning, right? We have already evening in Europe, but you have morning.
I'm gonna go out and seize the day. I actually I'm playing 9 holes of golf this afternoon. So I got to practice. So I have to practice, and then I'll play golf.
That's wonderful. So I really wish you a wonderful day, Liz. And I thank you so much for all what you have been sharing with us. And I hope that not only in reality, but also maybe you can be another guest again very, very soon. And you can share a new projects which you have in front of you and you are doing. And I will be very happy to see you all the time, really, anytime.
Thank you so much, dear Jana.
Take care. I wish you all my best. I thank to everybody who was with us today. And I wish everybody a nice day, to our guests a nice day, and nice evening to everybody who is in Europe. And I wish my best. Yeah, let's take care, and many greetings also to David.
Okay.
And to have a nice evening, and I'll see you all on Thursday with Daphne Borden. Have a great evening.
Wonderful. Bye.
Bye.